pleasure to introduce Richard Guilfoyle, the sales director of Omnifinity, who is going to reveal the missing link between virtual and reality. Richard has a specialized background in international sales for gaming hardware, passion for technical internet marketing, and being an English, he has been living in Sweden for over 10 years and brings a unique combination of a technical IT background with vast experience in international sales and marketing. So we are looking for the next interesting talk.
Thank you very much. As I said, my name's Richard Guilfoyle. God, I sounded quite weird in that little bio there, but yeah, we'll get through this. From Omnifinity, we're the crazy guys that decided to build a massive treadmill just so you can run around in virtual reality. This is one of the first kind of presentations that I'm going to do where I get to say the magic words of, if you want to try it, it's just there. Because most of the time I do this presentation, I don't have it in a briefcase next to me. So I'm going to take you through a little story of how we kind of came to be a kind of a three-man team building this amazing device. We go back to 1952, which is when our mother company in Älmhult in Sweden, which is very famous for one thing, Älmhult. It is the founding town of IKEA and the founding town of MSc Engineering. We've been working on hardware military simulators since the 50s. Now, it sounds like we're this enormous company like Saab, but we're still very small. There are about 22 people who work for this company. And over the years, we've developed flight simulators, main battle tanks, targeting systems, and you can see that's one of our first developed tank trainers there. I love the bow ties. When did that kind of become a thing? When did that leave us? So in this development of building hardware military simulators, how the hell do we end up building a treadmill? Well, its story starts back in about 2009, where we delivered flight simulators to the Swedish Air Force. And you can picture there's a great big room, and you have 8 flight simulators on one side, and the other side you had the special forces sitting there with laptops. And they're running the same scenario, the same mission together. And we thought this was a bit weird. The pilots get all the toys, and they get to fly the planes, and the guys on the ground are playing a version of Counter-Strike. And the thing is this leads to a slight problem that the pilot gets all the training, the pilot gets everything, but instead you're breeding these keyboard warriors. So we decided to look at how do you navigate around in a digital space? How do you navigate around in a game? So we took a treadmill and we took a gaming device. And we really tried to look at how it is to move around. And we tried lots and lots of crazy experiments in trying to take a normal treadmill and try to spin it. You can look at various different examples of hamster balls, I think is the classic idea. And at the end of a lot of money, a lot of investment, we ended up with this, the Omnideck. It's 4.2 meters, if anyone wants to know. You can see it next door. 16 sections, and it's a fully kind of motorized and powered treadmill. During our prototype stage, we kind of got lucky and unlucky at the same time. This is a picture of the Ultimate Battlefield 3 simulator, which was done by the British TV show, the Gadget Show. And this is for the launch of the EA DICE game, Battlefield 3. They decided to build this enormous simulator, which kind of was a bit crazy. The video clips around that week, I think they got up to about 11.5 million views on YouTube. And this is back in 2010. It crashed our website. We had everyone, from the Disney corporations to BAE Systems. I cannot explain the event that happened around this. Everyone kind of asked me how much this kind of costs. if you wanted to build one, and it's an obscene amount of money. It's a bit like trying to buy a Formula One car. Formula One car has a price, but you need 40 engineers just to drive the damn thing. And it's the same thing with this. One thing you'll notice is it's using a dome. It's using a projection dome. We were working a lot with the virtual reality headsets, but back then, 2009, 2010, the domes were everything. And then something happened. DK1, Oculus. I mean, that kind of changed everything. Like I say, we were working with virtual reality headsets before, but when the Oculus came in, it kind of, as probably a lot of us in this room today, it just kind of fueled this kind of the second boom of VR. And we really embraced that. We got rid of the dome and we started working a lot more with VR. God, I miss that thing. It was so simple. You could just port any kind of game to that really, really simply. But it didn't get away from one thing that we needed, the tracking. And we were using very expensive motion capture systems to enable the tracking with the Omnideck. And as VR developed, we came to the Vive. Quite outstanding. It reduced, a 45,000 euro system down to an 800 euro box. And what they managed to do for the consumers and for a lot of these kind of companies is really kind of change the landscape. I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Peter Thor, who will take you through more of a technical summary of how the Omnideck works and functions. So this is Peter Thor, our CTO. I'm just going to hook a microphone onto you.
That's the next slide.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Peter Thor. I'm the CTO of Omnifinity. Nice to be here. So we're going to have a small and rapid technical summary of the treadmill. We're going to look into how the mechanics work. What are they? How does it work mathematically a little bit? And how do you actually do something for it? How do you integrate something in your daily activities? Yeah, so this is the image we will focus about. So some of you have already been over there and seen it. So based on the tracker of the head, the HTC Vive headset, we capture your position. And that position is then fed into our algorithms to calculate a velocity based on where you are. So if you imagine that you move out from the center to this, towards the middle here, that would represent a velocity of the treadmill. And then there is a motor that drives the treadmill to actively push you back all the times in the red direction. That might seem a bit weird as an observer, but as a user of the actual experience, you are fixed in the same location. So you go out, you stop, the treadmill moves you back so that you have time, you have space for the next step. But inside your head, inside the game, that forward position where you are located and that backwards position, they cancel out. So the forward velocity and the backwards velocity means that you're actually staying at the same location. You have to experience it like any virtual reality experience to actually believe it. The rating of this, roughly 7-8 kilometers per second. It's a steady jog if you really do, if you try to increase the speed of it. But this is the low impact floor that we're having here, and we like to focus on the low impact activities for you. And the next step then is, how do you actually build something for this system? Well, we use the Unity game engine and the Unreal game engine, and on GitHub, it's an open source repository for software developers and collaborators. It's a fantastic site. We have a DLL, and you can use that dynamically linked library and add that into your game engine. And that would automatically, with some features and some tweaks that you have to do as a game developer to configure it, it will enable your game or your simulation to communicate with our software so that you can actually move about in your virtual reality on the treadmill. I believe we do a swap there, and let's let Richard finish this presentation. Thank you. Oh, sorry. I still
Don't worry, I'm not finished. We can take after. But I just want to move on to some user cases of other customers that we have. Because it's all very well discussing how cool this thing is and how it was designed and developed. But so probably the most relevant customer, I can't discuss all our military customers with you, no matter how much you force me to drink alcohol. But I can discuss Transport Systems Catapult. They were one of our very kind of first customers. They're based in Milton Keynes, just north of London. They really took a gamble on VR, and they built this lab, beautiful lab, and they've actually ended up creating 2 spin-off companies outside, based purely on the work that they've been working on with the OmniDeck. User interaction testing for large automotive companies. Autonomous vehicles is one of their specialities. And so what they're finding is they're building up virtual towns or virtual cities and driving the autonomous vehicles around, and how the user interaction is. They're also testing how the sensors work and how the sensors are programmed so that a virtual car can crash into a virtual human without the wonderful nature of a real autonomous car crashing into a real human. The RNIB virtual sign-off. This is one of the most fascinating things, and I remember the day they phoned me up. They said, Richard, the Royal National Institute for the Blind have contacted us, and they've been inside our lab, and they're just blown away because in there they built up a virtual Milton Keynes, and then inside the Vive they're using, they put special filters on to simulate different eye problems and different visual impairments. And this is mind-blowing. The ability to walk in another person's shoes. They found instantly when, especially with big public buildings, big airports or a shopping centre, that the architects who do not have these problems can walk around virtually in this space and can just turn on stage 5 cataracts, turn on colour blindness, and to really understand how things are. One example I can give you myself is that this beautiful building, as all architects and designers do, they build a beautiful structure and it's got the lovely furniture and the perfect daylight, and it looks lovely. But they had the same contrast in the floor. It was dark floor and dark walls. And immediately when I walked in and my sight was impaired, immediately it became really, really frustrating to kind of navigate around this. And it's one of these things that just kind of one of those aha moments. They've now gone on to develop a startup called Thea, where they have mobile apps, and they will be developing, they have partners mostly in America and in Europe, but they're moving on with this brilliant invention that came from the OmniDeck. Autonomous vehicle, wow, that's misspelled. Interacting testing, again, lots of things with about virtual navigation. They run pedestrian simulators, which is kind of interesting, moving into the town planning. The other thing they're working on is there seems to be a demand, there's a demand to build these amazing augmented reality apps. These are magic pair of glasses that I put on, and when I look at your faces, up comes your LinkedIn profile. Or if I'm walking in a shopping centre, and I walk past a store and up comes the advert for that store, which sounds like a nightmare to me. That sounds like a dystopian nightmare. But there's this race to kind of get this new technology in front of us. The problem is we don't have magic glasses. There's companies working on these magic glasses, should we say, Magic Leap for one of them. But what they're finding is, again, with this town that's already built in virtual reality, they can build all of tomorrow's AR apps, do all the user testing, get a lot of the testing out of the way. So they're pre-building the AR apps before the AR technology becomes available. And this is a really, really interesting development. And we are really, really, I can say, we're really, really happy that we are here today. It's taken it's been a long, long journey from the first phone call I had from Ollie to get the Omnideck here, and this amazing lab. And I have to say, I've traveled the world looking at a lot of different labs, and I can truly say that the room next door is world class in the technology and the opportunity. And I just wish that I had the opportunity to play with all of this when I went to school. And that's it. Thank you very much. And if you haven't tried the Omnideck, then you've got to go and try it. Unfortunately, it will kind of ruin virtual reality for some users, definitely, because you can't go back to that teleportation and that thumbstick and feeling a bit ill. But yeah, thank you very much from all of you.